Hi guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today I am talking about all the ins and outs of the latest patch 12.12.30, all the changes, all the quality of life stuff, all the new things, and go into a little bit more detail than my thoughts originally, and now that I've been playing it for a few weeks, just all the little things. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. So in no particular order, if you want to jump to something else and you don't want to see this one bit, there'll be stuff in the timeline down below, but starting off with the flares and airdrops. So currently there's been 4 flares added to the game, being the white, green, yellow, and red. The red one is the only one currently that calls in an airdrop, and there's 4 types of airdrops that you can happen. There is the actual standalone flare that you can you turn it off and you pop it off and it goes off into the sky, and there's also the flare gun, which you need the ammunition for. A little tip that I don't know if it still works or if it actually works properly or not, but you could actually insure the standalone flares if you take them in, and after you use them, they get thrown on the ground. You'll get it back as an insurance thing. You won't be able to use it again, but you can use that for a barter trade for the gun. To test that out, see if it actually works. But however, the 4 types of flares, only the red one does the actual airdrop. Now there are 4 types of airdrops, being the first one medical, which you can get LEDXs in as well, and off-limoscopes and stuff like that. I actually had 4 off-limoscopes in the one airdrop. There is also food and drink that comes in there. So if you do get one of these, try and get some of those quest items, put them aside for your quests. But overall, this is probably the least exciting one that I think, unless you get a LEDX, of course. There's the technical one, which has all your barter traded items. You could get like tank batteries and car batteries and all that kind of stuff. All your military barter traded items. But sometimes you can get some really good value in here. I once found a tank battery and I was a scav. I actually spawned in as a scav with the actual flare, popped it, and the airdrop came in, and then a player scav came over here and said, "Oh, here you go, man," and they just pat me, blah, blah. And then I was dead, and I wasn't able to get out that tank battery. But it's actually a way you can get tank batteries, I guess, on the side. There is the weapon airdrop, which has weapons and mods and backpacks and armors in there. I found this one to be sometimes a little bit anticlimactic. Sometimes you get the really good end tier weapons, and then other times you get a lot of random silly mods and attachments that are just completely worthless. So that one's a little bit hit and miss. There's also an overall, like a common one that just gives you a random mixture of all the other stuff. Now, if you call in an airdrop, nearly every time I've called in an airdrop these days, there's a little message that pops down the bottom right-hand corner saying, "Air is congested, please wait for airdrop to come through," or something like that. And then within about 5 to 10 minutes, the actual airdrop will happen. I don't know if this always means that there was an airdrop previously in the raid. It doesn't seem like I've called one in about halfway through a raid. There was definitely no airdrop before it, but it still said that same message. You had to wait 5 to 10 minutes for it to come through. But I think that's their like anti-spam method. So then if you were to call in multiple, it would stop it only at 1. So I think that's kind of their anti-spam method there. But if you see that message, it usually comes within the next 5 or 10 minutes. That's all I've got for airdrops and flares. The next one being the ammo changes. So there's a heap of different minor to major ammo changes that have happened either during the actual wipe patch itself or in follow-on moments since the wipe. Gigabeef made a really good video of this. I watched it, and I'll give you some of the summary points here. I've got a link down below to his channel. Really informative stuff over there if you're actually into some of the ammo changes that happens. Back in the day, like well and truly long ago, it used to be Anton that used to do all that stuff, and then there's been people over the period. But Gigabeef seems to be the guy at the moment that seems to make the best videos I see on that. So kudos to him. Go check his stuff out. But if you want the summary, 7.62 by 39 PS, the starting round. I've always said this is a great one. Use it in a VEPA 136 or an SKS. It's had a bit of a buff, and honestly, it's great. So PS rounds got a buff, and it's even better. 545 by 39 ammo had a bit of a buff overall. I would highly recommend going for the BT rounds, then the BP rounds, and then the PP rounds. However, all of them are still quite viable now. They've actually made it decent enough to make it viable. So if you're after 545 ammos now, they're actually pretty good. Now, 300 Blackout actually got a decent buff when it came to the AP rounds. And currently you can use the 300 Blackout rounds, and it has the potential to being the meta over 7.62 by 39 BP. Probably the biggest issue it's going to be is the availability, but if you were to stock it up and buy it over multiple resets, potentially it could now get to the point where it might become a bit of a meta gun over the 7.62 BP rounds, but have to wait and see in that. They'll always make these changes. I think Nikita tries to make it every wipe there's a different meta gun. The MK47's been pretty strong over the last couple. since it's been added, and also the new RD something gun is also quite strong as well. So yeah, take note, this 300 Blackout has a pretty good chance of being, if not the meta or close to. Now 9x39 has some pretty big changes. Really, it's just been nerfed, if anything. The time to kill is still going to be very rapid, and a lot of people are talking about why the AS Val has been good now. I think the SP5 round has a reduction to the accuracy, which means when you're shooting, it's even more accurate. So potentially it could be good for that reason alone. But honestly, AS Vals have just been nerfed through the ground. There was a wipe about a year and a half ago where it was the only thing people were using, AS Vals and VSSs. That's still not there yet, but it might make a bit of an appearance back a little bit more this wipe. Now 556, I think everyone made a video about this recently about how there was all these big buffs and stuff to 556. I didn't watch any of their videos, but I looked over every single number, and the only thing I can really pull apart from this whole 556 changes is maybe a little bit more often you'll be able to get a single headshot tap from range. Of all the changes, nothing was really that significant. If you shoot someone in the head from range and they've got a helmet on, there's probably a slightly higher chance that you'll be able to kill them. That's about it. So when the 556 changes came in, that's the whole video and summary of anyone's video out there that made that. Pretty much that's all you need to know. Now with the scav bosses, I personally haven't actually been able to fight them online, but I did go and pick them off in an offline raid to go have a look at them and see how they are. I've seen and heard a lot about where they spawn. So they're mostly spawning largely around the stronghold and also the crack house area. And their spawn rate's been slightly buffed, so they're a little bit more common than before. And they have very, very strong gear. So they've got really end game gear from M700s that are fully pimped out, and other, it's like and also the heavy scar is there as well. You can get some really sweet stuff. Their armors are usually class 5. I haven't been able to get the grenade launch to spawn in offline mode, but that's where it spawns from the big boss man. But overall, that's where they spawn. Small chance at the moment. They will rotate throughout other maps. So at the moment they're spawning there, but next they'll be on maybe Shoreline or customs. They're already on customs, but they'll go through other maps. So just be prepared that one day, sometime probably in the future, nearby, there will be the scav bosses or the goon squad on a different map. Now the scav bosses overall, their spawn rates have been nerfed through the floor, and they're not very common on any map at the moment. They started off, I think, the wipe around the 5% spawn rate from all the people who are data mining it, and now they're up to like 10% spawn rate. They'll probably end up going up again until they're up to about 30% over the course period of the wipe. I actually thought this was a good idea to help prolong some of the farming of bosses and stuff to get all the really good end gear early. So if you're not seeing Reshala in that, like I have not seen Reshala on my main account, except for I've seen him dead. I have not seen him very much at all. So over the period of wipe, you'll hopefully be able to run into these guys and get your quest done with Jaeger. Now for the Lighthouse expansion, a lot of the hype around this wipe was with this Lighthouse expansion. Overall, a little bit anticlimactic, I assume, for most people, that you go out there, it's like a one doorway entrance. There's 2 buildings at the bottom and there's a couple of buildings up the top. You can't actually get to the lighthouse itself where the trader is going to be, the Lightkeeper, because it's surrounded by mines at the moment. But the whole area itself is quite small, really. But there is some really good loot out there. I haven't made any loot guides for the expansion or lighthouse at all. I can in the future if I really want to go down that path. But there's a lot of really great content creators out there, and I just really want to just get to the facts for you guys and teach you guys, the core nitty-gritties of the game. They were good enough to actually finish up the water treatment plant. All the rooms around the water treatment plant down the bottom and up the top and around it are all pretty much openable now. And a couple of them require keys. There's like the operating room key, so you can get in there and open up the room and get one of your quests done in there. But there's a heap of loot now over there. You can also get on the roof of the building. So if there was a rogue on top of a building, kill them. You can run up there and get some loot from them as well. The loot over that side of the map is insane, and it's probably the most profitable map in the game. However, obviously there's a lot of people fighting over it. So hard map to survive, but you can definitely get some good loot over there. As for new keys, there's the bedroom marked key, which isn't technically a marked key because it's got 40 or 40 uses, whereas all the other marked keys now have 10 uses. But I haven't really found any extremely great loot there, but there is some good loot. So you can get it from the bedroom marked key that's out on the island of the lighthouse. There's also the conference room and the radar room keys that are over there. Conference room doesn't have any quest in there, but the radar room key does, and it's extremely rare and quite hard to get. If you're lucky enough to get one, hold on to it for your quest. Otherwise, you can sell it for pretty much any item in the game at the moment. It's pretty up there, except for maybe like a red key, but I don't think red key cards are worth it at the moment. The operating room key is located on the water treatment plant, and there is a quest obviously in there that I spoke about before. And so if you get one of those ones as well, definitely hold on to that. Now for the hideout, there hasn't really been a large amount of changes overall in the hideout. There's been a fair few new crafts and a couple of additions to upgrading specific spots. Something that probably take note of at the moment is the air filter and library is still not working apparently. I haven't been able to test this out myself, but still lots of people saying it's not working. Nikita does know about this. I've mentioned it to him multiple times, but I still like to use my air filter just so I can level up my hideout management skill, which buffs other stuff within the hideout. The Bitcoin farm, a lot of people asking me about the Bitcoin farm. If you can get your graphics cards for under 200k each, and you were to get your Bitcoin farm completely upgraded to level 3, it would take just under 90 days at the moment with current Bitcoin prices to pay itself off, and you would still have those you still have those graphics cards value as well. So my theory is if you can buy your graphics cards under 200k, you should, and then let the Bitcoin farm grow. Eventually you'll be making money off the Bitcoins themselves. And then on top of that, if the real life value of Bitcoin goes back up, you're going to only make more and more money. So if you're going to play the game for about 3 months, definitely worth doing it. If not, get your Bitcoin farm just to level 1. And then when you die with the graphics card, you can chuck it in your Bitcoin farm and it'll passively make you a little bit of money over time. I like using my Bitcoins to get weapon cases and stuff like that, but it's up to you how you want to do it. Quality of life changes I want to go over. So the special slots themselves, there is the ability now to put down your Wi-Fi cameras, your jammers, and your markers in those special slots, as well as your rangefinder and compass. So I would always say put at least one marker in there. So then, for example, if you get to the cult part 2 and you see the marked room open on customs, you can just dump it down there, and then you don't have to worry about having to open it up yourself. Something like that now being added to the game is a great quality of life thing. I actually really like it. And it's cool to be able to have, you know, your rangefinder and your compass there nice and safe if you are trying to do sniping and learning the maps and stuff. So I love the idea of having those special slots that are unlootable, and you can put some of those markers in there. Scav task being added to the game. If the scav task doesn't have any more than 0.01 rep as a risk, you can actually reset it. So unless it's like a 0.02 or 0.03, you actually lose scav rep doing that. But if you get a really crappy scav task, you can reset it. There was really big XP amount added to the scav task initially, but Nikita removed that. I do believe, and don't quote me on it, but I do believe it was removed because everyone was spamming their scav runs at the start, and people were sitting on like half-hour queues to get into a scav run. I'm hoping Nikita puts it back in the game because I think it's a really good way to help people that are really struggling to level up their tasks to get that scav task XP and level up their characters. Now, to get these scav tasks, if you haven't known already, you need to get Intel Center level 1. So it's another reason why you should be upgrading your hideout to at least Intel Center level 1. A pretty big nerf was the injector case has now been reduced to a 3x3 instead of a 4x4. Personally, I think this is great. The injector case was so overpowered in the past, and a 3x3 is pretty decent. So at the moment, you could have, say, 4 slots available to have like your probitals and your green stim and all that. And then you've still got 5 to be able to loot from. It's still really strong. It only takes up 1 spot in your butthole. And so in my opinion, worth getting an injected case from the end of Skier's quest line with Chemical Part 4. There's been a few changes with that one. You can get an injected case. So I would grab the injected case and then take advantage of it. Now, this is not really a quality of life thing, but with the key changes, they've actually made all the marked room keys 10 uses now, and all the other keys, I think it's 40. So with the marked keys, I got one of the marked keys for the actual customs marked room. I looted it 10 times. I got a Willer's wallet and a key tool, and the rest of the time was just guns. I might have got lucky. I might have got unlucky. I'm not sure. But the other marked rooms haven't been anything fancy, and I kind of like the idea that it's only 10 uses, but it does mean that it's pretty much going to be like the Stoner Jordan from Diablo 2, if you ever played Diablo 2. Everyone seems to want a marked key for all the reasons they want them. And so if you ever want to barter trade for an item that's a hard to get item, they want marked keys for them. So hold on to your marked keys, keep them found in raid if you can. If you don't want to loot the marked room yourself, it's a good item to be able to use to barter for other items in the game. All the other keys being reduced down to 40 uses is actually pretty good. The casual player isn't going to use most keys 40 times, but as over time, people that do play the game a lot will get through their keys, and it will keep some sort of value for most keys in the game. One of the things that we noticed later in the wipe or in the patches is a lot of the keys don't really have any value. So therefore, they kind of just die off, and every key is just at the cost of value of the actual vendor price. So hopefully this will keep some of the keys some sort of value. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually make the keys even less uses, like in a future patch. and slowly get it down to like 30 or 25 or something like that. Nikita seems to do that when he wants to implement a change, but he doesn't want to make everyone really mad. He'll make it 100 this wipe, and then the next wipe he'll bring it down to 40, and the next wipe he'll bring it down a little bit more. It's very common that he's done that. You've noticed that stuff at the flea market, right? So at the start, he had the flea market fully open, and then he just put some restrictions on it. And it's every wipe, it's getting a little bit more. He's tightening up that grip. So that's just what Nikita likes to do. All right, next up, task changes. There's been a fair few. I'll start with the pretty much the major ones with Prapor. So Prapor, the debut task is now scavs on all territories. Nice little handy objective to make it a lot easier for when you're starting out. The Punisher task no longer unlocks the 762 by 39 BP, which is a pretty noticeable change for a lot of people. Insomnia no longer includes factory. So instead of getting your nighttime kills farming nighttime factory, you actually have to go to other maps. And then the following one, Test Drive Part 1, used to be you had to get the M1A kills with the thermal sight. I used to just do that on factory, go full Mega Chad factory, just stomp through and just kill my 5 players. Now you have to do them from 60 meters away, which kind of removes factory, but it actually means that you have to do them from long range on other maps. It took me a little while to get this done for some reason. It was just really hard to kill people from 60 meters away. They added a new task for Prapor called Reconnaissance, where you're required to go onto the roofs of the water treatment plant buildings. And once you've gone to all 3 of those, you'll have reconnaissance done. For therapists, they actually changed the chemical part 4 reward for out of curiosity. And now instead of giving a med case, it actually gives an injector case. I highly recommend grabbing this injector case because you can always use it to loot even just morphine. So, all right, so any of the injectors in the game, just keep it in your butthole. It'll make you money. And then you can actually keep a couple of spare ones there that you'll be able to get you out of sticky situations. So when you do get a chemical part 4 from Skier and it unlocks out of curiosity, instead of handing it to Skier, I highly recommend getting out of curiosity from therapists instead. Healthcare Privacy Part 2. Now, this quest in the past was a very hard sticking point for a lot of people. You need to get the West 306 key. So that key is usually really valuable on the flea market. However, now with Peacekeeper, Nikita's given the reward for Spar Tool Part 1 has given the West 306 key as the reward. So if you get stuck on trying to get into West 306, start working on the Peacekeeper quest line, and once you get to Spa Tour, you'll unlock that key and you'll be able to do that quest for therapists. So I really like it. Nikita's gone through some of the tasks and massaged some stuff around to really increase the flow of some of the questing. So this is a big win. Now, Private Clinic, which usually unlocks around level 35 for therapists, it's the one where you get the thick item case. It has the reward for East 306, which is required for a couple of tasks, both from from Peacekeeper and Skier. But the cool thing about it is the LEDX, which a lot of people were struggling on in previous wipes, is now spawning in med cases, hidden stashes, the med sky drop thing, the airdrop, and even people said they found them in duffel bags. I don't know how true that is, but start checking all those locations and you might get lucky enough to find a LEDX via one of those methods. So instead of it just being like, oh, you need to farm, the key with tape room, or you need to farm labs to get a LEDX, now you've actually got other locations that you'll be able to find it. There's a new task also called drug trafficking. It's where you have to go into the back of Lighthouse. There's a drug den inside some shipping containers, and you need to take in a Wi-Fi camera to finish that quest. So keep an eye. I would always keep like a Wi-Fi camera and MS-2000 on your special slots if you can, just in case you get one of those quests and you're not really sure, or if you see a new quest you haven't checked out yet, have that there. And then if you need to mark something, you've already got one there. So it's a little bit of a bonus thing on the side. Now with Skier, not really a lot of changes here. The bullshit task is now required to unlock the mutant, and setup task, which is the one where you got to kill people on customs dressed as a scav, unlocks AP 20. So in the past, though, they were available in other methods. The AP 20 is a big one for getting the setup task done, and I used to use it a lot with setup. But now you can you have to unlock AP 20 by doing the task setup. There's a new task for Skier called Top Secret. It needs you to get the radar key. It's a very rare key, pretty much butters for anything in the game at the moment. And it's located, or the room is located out on that peninsula. So you need to go and get out to the lighthouse area to get that quest done. Now for the Cult Part 2 with Peacekeeper, it's a little bit harder to get into the marked room because of the less uses of the marked key. So make sure you do have an MS-2000 in your special slot, waiting and ready to go for when you start doing customs and you're on that task. Just a little tip for young players right there. Spa Tour Part 1, giving that West 306 key for Healthcare Private Clinic is a big win. And then Spa Tour Part 7 is an RBST key, which is needed for 2 reserve tasks. So I would highly recommend trying to get through your Peacekeeper quest line so you can get some of these keys, because they'll either barter trade for really good stuff, or you can use them to get your own quest done anyway. Now for mechanic, if you get some of your earlier mechanic tasks done, you'll be able to get the scout quest, which is now giving you a factory key. So if you're struggling to get one, or you don't get one on the flea market, it's kind of cool that you actually go to each of the extracts on factory for the scout task. You don't need to go through the doors, and then you get a factory key for it. I thought that was quite a nice quality of life little improvement there on that quest. Shooter Born in Heaven, which is going to be a little bit more harder and controversial for a lot of people, requires you to get 125-meter headshots now, and includes the Lighthouse map. So it's 5 maps now instead of 4, and it's 125-meter headshots instead of 100. So good luck with that one. It's going to be a tough one. And a new task now, Broadcast, which requires a key for the operating room, and it's located in the treatment plant on Lighthouse. And you need to take a signal jammer in there for completion of the task. As for Ragman, there's not really any major changes. I just want to make note that for Blood of War Part 2, fuel conditioners were a lot harder for me to find this playthrough. So if you are finding fuel conditioners, put them aside, because you do need 4 for the task Blood of War Part 2. And like I said, they've been a lot harder to find this one, so this playthrough. So make sure you hold on to them. A little small quality of life thing with the Jaeger playthrough, or the Jaeger task, is when you get to the Survivalist task, Zivchik task, and Wounded Beast are at the exact same time. So if you dehydrate yourself, you'll be under the pain effect, and then you can go kill your 3 scavs and get the Wounded Beast task done at the same time. So go into a raid, dehydrate yourself. While you're doing that, go kill 3 scavs. Bam, you've just got 2 Jaeger tasks done at the exact same time. Now, the Jaeger task for killing Sturman for Woods is the way to unlock the new 338 bolt action sniper. The bolt action is actually really strong, and even with the FMJ rounds, you don't need the AP rounds. The FMJ rounds will just drop people 1 shot to the chest, unless they're wearing class 6, and even then, I think there's probably a good chance you'll 1-shot them. Big win for the sniping leveling as well is Tarkov Shooter Part 8 now gives +1 to snipers. So when you do finally get through the Tarkov Shooter quest line, you can get +1 to snipers, which means instead of having to grind up to level 5 snipers before you hand in Mentor and Shooter Born in Heaven, you just got to get to level 4, which is pretty feasible and easy if you're actually leveling up your Tarkov Shooter quests at the same time. The last one being the Scav Boss task, no longer unlock in a specific order. It used to be like you'd get Reshala, and then you would get Killer, and then I don't know, Sturman, etc, etc. Now other tasks from other traders are actually unlocking the Scav Boss tasks. So when you get Jaeger up to that point where you've done all the killing inside the office area on factory, you'll start unlocking all of them at the same time. So at one stage, I literally had every single Scav boss there because I had not seen any Scav bosses. So this is really cool. I really like this idea. I hated the idea that I had to kill Reshala and then I had to go farm interchange to get Killer. Now you can literally have them all, play the maps just like normal, and just hopefully run into them at some point in time, and you'll get your Scav boss kills. As for the last person being Fence, the new collector task requires you to get level 55, but it also does require you to get all the new streamer items. So there is a lot of streamer items these days, and so I would highly recommend putting them aside when you can. I put them inside my thick item case, and then yeah, you'll have eventually all the items required for the collector task. At level 55, it's not too bad. It's honestly not too bad. Most people that play the game on a consistent schedule, I guess, should be able to get to that point once they've learned the game enough to be able to get the quest done. Because really, this game is mostly about knowledge. Now, as for the new weapons added to the game, personally, I haven't really found myself enjoying them all too much. The G36 is a bit of fun. They've made some buffs to the gun to make it a little bit more feasible. I know some people out there are really enjoying it. I really haven't touched it too much. I've had a few raids where I just started doing it for a bit of fun. But I highly suggest getting out there and trying all the new guns. There's a lot of guns added to Tarkov all the time. And probably one of the greatest things about the game is how realistic and how all the guns function. So G36, heap of fun. Still need to play it more to actually, give my full thoughts and details on that one. The 338 bolt action, I've been using that plenty. It just one-taps pretty much everyone. The breach open rifle, I haven't really touched it. It's like a one-shot pony, and it's just not really that enjoyable for me to use. But I'm sure I'll probably get to the point where I'm just like bored and I'll be playing with that thing with PS rounds. And that's pretty much all I've got for the new guns right now. If you are new to this game and you are trying to learn it, I am releasing the raid series pretty much in the next 24 hours as well. So it might even be live by the time this video goes live. So go down to check out that video. I'll have a link down below to that if you're new to Tarkov. It's pretty much a playthrough of Tarkov where I play 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, and it's highly edited for your viewing pleasure. pretty much just like watching a sitcom, you know? You just sit there every night and it's there for you to watch. Consider me the new friend, you know? Besides that, guys, putting out my IRL videos 1 day a week, so make sure you check out the IRL content. It's a bit of fun banter and it's good for my mental health to be able to get outside. And I'm really enjoying playing Tarkov at this point in time, so we've got some really fun stuff coming up. Anyway, as for this video, that is it. Hopefully this was informative to you and you learned something from it. Usual drill, like and comment for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe, notification bell, and lastly, I'll see you next time.